Hello everyone, I am Dr. Krishna Sarker, Department of Electrical Engineering. Here in this session, I will be going to discuss about advantage and disadvantage of transfer function. This is linear control systems, lecture series on linear control systems and lecture number 11. So our topic's name advantage and disadvantage of transfer functions. Overview. First, what is transfer function? And then advantage of transfer function, disadvantage of transfer function. What is transfer function? Definition of the transfer function. The transfer function of a control system is defined as the ratio of the Laplace transform of the output variables response or effects to the Laplace transform of input variable excitation. This is also called cause, assuming or provided that all the initial conditions to be zero. So what is the Laplace transform? What is the transfer function? Transfer function means the ratio of the Laplace transform of the output variable response or effects to the Laplace transform of the input variables, that is excitation or cause. And this is the very important part, all initial conditions to be zero. All initial conditions to be zero. So this is the definition of the transfer function. And symbolic form, transfer function equals to Laplace transform of the output divided by Laplace transform of the input, and provided all initial conditions are zero. So another Laplace transfer function equals to Laplace transform of the output response or effect divided by Laplace transform of input variables or excitation or cause, and all initial conditions are zeros is called transfer function. So this is the definition of transfer function. And what is the advantage and disadvantage of the transfer function? This is our main focus or target. So advantage of transfer function. Advantage of the transfer functions are: number one advantage, transfer function is a mathematical model and it gives the gain of the plant or systems. The time domain based complex equations can be transformed into simple algebraic form using Laplace transform method. Another advantage, it provides the mathematical model of the overall systems along with each system components. And for a known transfer function, the system output response is easy to determine for any reference input. This is also very important advantage, because for a known transfer function, the system output response is easy to determine. This is the backward calculation determined for any reference input. Transfer functions helps to determine important parameters of the systems like poles and zeros. This is the very important transfer function. Transfer function helps to determine importance parameter poles and zeros. Transfer function equals to what? Z equals to CS by RS, CS by R of S. In this case, numerator is called zeros, ZDROS, ZDROS, and denominator is called poles, POLES. This is the pole zero concept. And if all the poles left hand side of the S-plane, then system will be stables. So transfer function helps to determine important parameters like poles and zeros. Another advantage, it is possible to analyze time varying or time invariant, linear or non-linear, single or multiple input output system. This is also very important properties. This is the very important advantage of the transfer functions. Poles and zeros of a systems can be determined from the knowledge of the transfer function of the systems. Poles and zeros have a vital role in the system's response. Another advantage, it is possible to confirm the state of the system parameters also and not merely input-output relations. Another advantage, the stability of the system can be easily analyzed using the transfer function, or transfer function helps in the study of stability analysis of the system, because transfer function gives the characteristics equation of the systems, and this characteristics equation determine the stability of the systems. If all the poles and zeros left hand side of the S-plane, then system will be stable. This is the one properties. Another, root locus, Nyquist, Bode plot techniques. And another advantage, it helps to relate output with input. If transfer function of a system is known, the response of the system to any input can be determined very easily. It is possible to optimize the systems and useful for optimal design. It is possible to include initial conditions. For small systems, the transfer function use is easy to approximation from data. For analyzing of frequency response, transfer function is good. So these are all advantages of the transfer function. Then disadvantage of the transfer functions. Disadvantage of the transfer functions are, transfer function is not applicable to nonlinear systems. Transfer function can be defined for only linear systems. The initial conditions are not considered, as the effects generated by them are neglected because initial conditions misplace their importance, since transfer function does not take account the initial conditions. This is the very important sentence or properties. Another disadvantage, this technique sometimes complex. No assumptions can be drawn about the physical structure of the system from its transfer functions. Sometimes many computations are required. This is the deal actually. Transfer function is not used for complex systems. Transfer function is applicable only for single input, single output system or CISO systems. Transfer function cannot combine Kalman's filter with PID controllers. So these are all disadvantages of the transfer functions. So thank you.